my brothers, my sisters, my friends. Today, the great gift of your applause is not for me, but for yourselves. I came today here for a craving and the knowledge that the old ways serve us no longer. You came here today for a craving, for something new, for something different. That's scary how it resonates with me. I watched this movie, was Johnny Depp's speech in Grindelwald with the Fantastic Beasts movie, and I thought it was fitting to have a Harry Potter quote here, because first, I never watched Harry Potter before, and second, I watched it 2 weeks after I got the invitation to talk here today. So I want to, the same way he did, to invite you to the revolution, when we get the data in a new way, where we get all the data that we can have, and we get all the data that we have available for us in Google Search Console. So I'm going to say two things that this talk is not about. It's not about me, and it's not about the bulk data export step by step, because I'm going to give you some some details about myself in the slides, here and there. And Daniel, he's a fellow countryman from Brazil. He gave all the videos in the YouTube Search Console channel about how to start exporting your data automatically. You will start the export, and then 48 hours later, you are going to see the data flowing in. So it's very easy. You can just follow this step by step. Now, Danny was talking about costs, and what I can tell you is that for the Google Search Console costs, you don't need to worry really, because my costs are very low, and I'll give you some examples here. The storage free usage tier is only, it's 10 gigabytes per month. That's roughly 100,000 pages website. And the usage for queries, for analysis, is 1 terabyte. So you should be good for your most basic reports. Then when you get more into it, then you start paying for it. My cost is only 12 cents of Canadian dollars. That's almost nothing. And in the last slide, you'll be able to go to my website to see the slides, and this is an image that has a link to the Optimize Smart blog post about their cost. They only pay 6 cents of a pound, so that's pretty reasonable, I think. For me, if it's less than 1 terabyte to run, it's going to be fun. I have this in the back of my mind because I don't have run queries that use more than 100 gigabytes of data. So I think you should be fine with that. I have 7 tips for you today, and the first one is smart repetition. Because I'm very lazy, productive, I always try to use the same shortcuts again and again. And because BigQuery is mostly used for reporting, it makes sense that we use it frequently. So here we have an example that 1, 2, and 3 are the same dates, and you can copy and paste, of course, but then you're prone to human error. So what I recommend, you use the F2 shortcut, super simple. You change all of currencies at once. It's like a find and replace, but on drugs. Then you also have to remember to save your queries. There's a very easy to find shortcut. You can save it personally if you're working on that query, or if you want to share with someone that has access to your table, then you use the public option. I have 21 queries saved, and I have them in a naming convention. So if it has 1 star, it means it's good. If it has 3 stars, it's better. 5 stars is the best I can do. And it has a little rocket going to the right, then you know. But if you forgot to save something on the bottom right, you have this arrow pointing up that you see all the queries you ran recently, and you can search for those using the fields you have here. And that really helps for you to remember the queries that you ran recently. Now, you are convinced, but you need to convince your boss. You need to convince, I don't know, the CEO. Now, I have done the research of the pros and cons in the BigQuery, and I think I won the most awful slide visually today, but these are the pros for BigQuery, that you have more than 16 months of data for Google Search Console. You have more detail, and in the next slide I'm going to explain what that means. You can run very complex queries, and most importantly, you can enable internal and external connections. So if you have Google Analytics data or revenue data and so on, you can use join to get them together. This is what I mean by more details. Again, this blog post shows us that websites get over 2,000% in granularity for their information. I cannot share our details from my company, but what I can say that these numbers are pretty much precise. And you can see here in the right column how bigger the BigQuery export is compared to the Search Console front-end export and to the API Search Console that you connect to Screaming Frog or Sitebulb or whatever tool you use. And the cons is that you need to learn SQL. If you don't know, ChatGPT is your friend. If you have costs, even though they're small, sometimes you need to get them approved. There's bureaucracy to go through that. Learning something new, there's always the learning curve. That's a little bit scary in the beginning, but that's why I'm talking here today, to maybe incentivize you to start and try. And you need to rely on other teams. I worked in Canada in a company that we didn't own the data, so we needed to ask for monthly reports. Imagine like an SEO that can't have access to Google Analytics. So that said, you can rely on other teams to give you data or to help you. That's your choice. Then the fourth tip is that you have filters and you have operators. And the basic filters will get all this data that you get, and you get a lot of data natively from the bulk data export to first save you money, and second, to get the data that you really need. So you have on the left, you have the basic filters that you are already used to if you use Google Search Console. So date, country, query, and URL. And on the right, you have the operators. So sum and average are also very familiar. So the sum of impressions, sum of clicks, average position. Count, very useful for when you need to count the queries that, or the keywords that got more clicks this time period compared to the previous time period. Greater than 0, smaller than 0, very helpful to filter out those queries and those results when you have 0 clicks but impressions. Not to filter out things, join to merge things, between for dates. So let's say January 1st to March 31st, that's Q1, the first quarter of the year. Distinct is almost like the unique formula on Excel. And in is one of my favorites because I challenge you to get the clicks data for 5,732 URLs in Google Search Console. No human being should be able to do that by hand because that's just impossible. If you try to use the connection with the API, you're limited to 2,000 URLs per day. So that's also not very good. And with BigQuery, this should be free. So that's very important. Now, if you need to share your formulas with someone, let's say that you're giving a talk about BigQuery and SEO, what I recommend is for you to use Google Sheets. Do not send by email, do not send by Slack, because they break the formatting. And then the query, the apostrophes, the parentheses, and everything break. Google Sheets, they even keep the same colors. So I think that's very nice. Then, just by the way, in the last slide, as I mentioned, you'll see the link to my website, where you'll be able to download a Google Sheet with all the queries and formulas that you see today, so you don't need to, rush to take pictures because you have everything. Now, some queries, I think that's why you're here. After 2 days, you have the first data. It starts collecting from that point on, but after the first month, you start getting, your monthly report in BigQuery just to test, to put your toe in the water, see how's the temperature of the water. On the bottom right here, you have a link for the Google official documentation where they give us some examples. And what I really like with this one is the interval 14 day. So it means that it's a dynamic formula that you can just copy and paste and use it every month, or even run overnight, as I learned today. You can group by one, so you get you the first part of your select, and order by two. So you don't need to use the field name to group by an order. I'll give more examples that group by an order will be a little bit more clear. And as always, try to limit the queries so you save money, because we know that especially in the beginning, you don't want to have high costs with your BigQuery account. Now, this should be very familiar. This is what we have in Google Search Console, but without the limitation of 1,000 rows. Some clicks as clicks, some impressions as impressions, average position as position. That's what we have in Google Search Console. And the table name is, of course, the name of your website. The date between January 1st and March 31st is first quarter. I know, very basic. The result will be exactly what you have in Google Search Console. Then what I like is to go slowly with these queries and get them more and more complex. So now it's clicks by query, but you're filtering out the clicks that have 0 clicks. I'm sorry, the keywords that have 0 clicks. That means that you don't sum and you don't average the impressions that are showing up for keywords that are not being clicked. Because what's the point of ranking first for Facebook if nobody clicks on your website? So you would have hundreds of billions of impressions, but that would just drag down your CTR. And again, no 1,000 rows limitation. Now this one is a little bit more scary, but we go step by step. This is for you to understand the keywords that lost clicks when you're comparing 2 time periods. The first field is the query, of course. Then you sum clicks as clicks. So you have the full time period. Here we have from January 1st to June 30th. And then here I'm just doing a subtraction. So this is Q1 clicks, this is Q2 clicks, and this is the subtraction between them. So I'm going to have a table with 4 columns, as you're going to see quickly. And the good tip here is the having part, because I'm just getting the information that is smaller than 0. So it means it lost clicks. I think you already know what you have to do if you want to know the keywords that got more clicks. Sorry. So it's going to look like this, and then it's sorted by the biggest difference. If I send this to my content team and I tell them, hey guys, we lost a lot of clicks for this keyword, we're not writing about this anymore, what's happening? Then we can start getting insights for organic traffic, either for content or for categories or for whatever page you have. You can always use that for URLs, not only for queries. And the last helpful query for today is the active pages. So using the same concept of having clicks greater than 0, you would get the list of URL that are actives. In Google Search Console, you are again limited by 1,000 URLs, but here in BigQuery, you would have all the pages that are active. What I like to do, save this somewhere else, and then every month, or every day, whatever, you check how many active pages you have. If this is going up, it means that option A, you're getting more clicks for the pages you already have, or the content that you're writing or the pages that you're creating are getting clicks. And of course, if it's the opposite, then you need to evaluate what's happening. And before we finish, we need to understand how to start. So to start, what I like to... No? I don't have a course, I'm just kidding. But for every interview that I have, I ask my, potential candidates to go to this page and to do this SQL tutorial. It's very simple. Every article here, it's, 3 or 4 minutes, and then you just learn the basics of SQL. And I redo this every 3 or 4 months because I always get new insights from this. After you know a little bit of the SQL, you need the SQL language. You need to learn or understand the process. it's like an Excel formula where you get first one part of the information, and then you get the second part of the information, and then you have the final result you were looking for. So in this example, I wanted to get, of course I had to blur the information here, but I wanted to merge these two tables, left and right, and then the result of both, I needed to get the information in the middle. And also for you to verify if everything is working all right, you need to do it step by step. And it's not wrong, you need help, professional help maybe, if it gets too difficult, as the learning curves are difficult, but sometimes you have in your company people that can help you. You also have ChatGPT, you also have all the documentation out there, but like Stefan, thank you Stefan, really helped me with this query, and I have no idea what it does, but it does what I needed to do. So it's not wrong, and data scientists and data analysts, they really like to help you because when you show interest in their field, they sparkle. So if you take something from my talk today, is to ask for help. People really are interested in help. And before we finish, as Johnny Depp said, SQL, magic, he said, blooms only in rare people. People with greater souls that want to achieve higher things. Now, if you think about all the talk, it makes sense. It is granted to those who live for the greatest life, those who want to achieve knowledge for humanity, and those who want freedom, truth, and love. Thank you very much.